Have you ever been in the woods and you want to figure out a deer's age and not knowing that exact age of a deer? Well, I'm going to be giving you tips and pointers today about how to age deer on the hoof. Aging deer on the hoof is just an expression about taking deer's characteristics and taking those characteristics to have an estimated age of a deer. First, deer. So to start off, deer are born in the springtime. So by the time it gets to hunting season, they're a half-year old. These half-year-old deer are called button bucks, and they just have little stubs coming out of their head. Small body, small nose, small everything. The next year, when they get to 1.5-year old, this is when they're more similar to doe. They have thick neck, small body, and because of their small body, their legs appear to be long. The next year, when they get to 2.5-year olds, body starts to get a little bit thicker neck, and a little bit longer nose. These are when bucks start to develop their horns more. These are when spikes and 4 points start to turn into 6 points and 8 points. Horns are still skinny and still developing them. When deer turn to 3.5-year olds, their bodies are more toned and muscular looking, and their necks and chest are both getting thicker. When bucks are 4.5 years old, their back is straight and their stomach starts to get a little sag to it as they're aging. This is the age where bucks have solid antler growth. They're building more mass on their horns. The horns are getting wider and taller, and bucks are turning into nice 8 points and 10 points. Next age is the 5.5-year olds. Horns are heavy at this age, lots of mass. Everything appears thick on the deer, like they weigh a lot. Neck is big and the chest is big, and the necks go straight into the chest. Belly sags clearly evident at this age. And this is 5.5-year olds when bucks seem to be most dominant in the area for breeding right purposes for does. The next age, the 6.5-year old, this is the age when buck antler hits its peak. These are when antlers are really tall, really heavy, and wide. Deer's legs at this age appear to be really short because of the size of the deer. The deer appears to be really thick and big chest, big belly. All that appears to make it look like it has small legs. The next stage is the 7.5-year olds, which in the wild, deer rarely make it to 7.5, especially bucks, because they get shot when they're younger. But if they do reach 7.5, this is the year where their horns start to go backwards essentially. They already hit their peak of antler growth last year, and so 7.5-year olds are where their horns start to go backwards. So if they were a nice 12 point, say at 6.5, then at 7.5, they could be down to a 10 point, and then maybe the next year at 8 point, So every year after 6.5, deer start to go backwards with their antler growth, but their body is continuing to get bigger, more belly sag, and that's pretty much it for aging bucks on the hoof and figuring out, what bucks are shooters in your opinion and what aren't, and what bucks you're targeting, what age. And that's all for today, and hopefully you learned some tips and pointers about how to age deer on the hoof.